Sal, you got a couple moves for the people to make. I mean, look, trade deadline's coming up. They could make a bajillion moves. They could do whatever they want. These are the two you say people need to make. I mean, need to, Sal. So let's be clear on that.
That's right.
Give us your first move that the people need to make as the trade deadline approaches.
Yeah, it might not seem like a sexy move, but trade for rhamondre Stevenson. This is somebody that not just the upcoming schedule, but really the fantasy playoff schedule, if you're somebody who feels like you're going to get there, is a reason to do so. First of all, the past month of the season, he's had one of the best roles in fantasy for a running back. Last 3 weeks, since getting healthy, by the way, before that he just wasn't healthy. I think that contributed to his role a little bit. 75% of the snaps for the Patriots, averaging 20 opportunities per game. And this past week, he kind of buried Antonio Gibson as far as a passing down role goes. He ran 5 times the amount of routes. He was out there on the long down and distance, which wasn't the case earlier in the season over Antonio Gibson. So you're getting rhamondre Stevenson 3 down back. And now this past week, it only got 77 scoreless yards on 21 touches. It was an inefficient day for him, sure, but it's not a sexy offense for most part of the season. It's not a sexy player to be trading for, but Drake May, the rookie quarterback, is helping that a ton. The past 2 weeks have been brutal matchups. The Bears, that's partially why there was inefficiency last week. Even the week before that against the Titans. He's kind of now out of that stretch of games. He has a quarterback who's actually sustaining drives, getting downfield, scoring touchdowns. And Stevenson's a guy who already has 4 top 12 finishes on the season, and now I only have to assume the offense will be better moving forward rest of season with Drake May, especially as the matchups against the Colts and the Cardinals in the fantasy playoffs come up. Even a winnable matchup against the Rams defensive line that has been getting better, but you can still get yours on the ground against them. So I think this is a nice spot. Like if you could trade 1-for-1, same position, we always say is weird. Kareem Hunt as like a sell high for rhamondre Stevenson before Pacheco comes back, I would. Across separate positions, if you can deal some sort of Khalil Shakur package for rhamondre Stevenson, even a Sutton, if you're strong at wide receiver and you could trade Cortland Sutton 1-for-1 for rhamondre, I'd be doing that right now. I think he has one of the best playoff schedules.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's even some bigger name wide receivers. If you're strong at wideout, that you could give up. Like I would maybe try to sell high on the JSN Week 9 game and get a rhamondre Stevenson. Like I like Ladd McConkey, but I think I'd rather have a rhamondre Stevenson. Jamison Williams, weird player, he was just suspended. But like that's the group of wideouts that I would give up to get Stevenson, because I'm with you. I think that this offense is pretty good. It's kind of, I mean, it's not pretty good, but it's pretty stable, let me say. They've settled into a nice area. Drake May has really elevated the proceedings here. And yeah, I mean, I just think Stevenson's a good player that they want to make their foundation back. And that's rest of season schedule is really nice. So yeah, I've always said I have a lot of Stevenson this year, so I'm hoping you're right, because I'd like for those teams to have a nice finish to the fantasy season. But yeah, I'm generally with you here that I think Stevenson is a pretty nice buy who people aren't like jazzed up about. So I think is someone that they could potentially make a trade offer for. All right, your next one though hurts my feelings a little bit. Sal Vetri, you say we got to sell high on this wide receiver.
Yeah, I'm trying to trade away Marvin Harrison in a couple of leagues. Marvin Harrison Jr., where I have him. He's coming off of a quality performance, 13.5 half PPR points this past week on 5 targets. He's now produced some good to great fantasy weeks in 2 out of his last 3 games. Had a 20-point performance just 3 weeks ago. So I think it's opened up a nice sell high window on the Cardinals' first round pick. If this is a similar situation to Debo, you just kind of want to test the market on these guys. You're not just selling low on them. There's a reason you want to try and sell high. If a deal's not there, don't make the deal. But over his last 5 contests, we're just getting 5 targets per game, which is nowhere near elite volume. He ranks 48th in wide receiver fantasy points per game during that time. Trey McBride is still a target hog on this team, leading the team in target share the past 2 months. And Marvin Harrison's role, like I keep watching some of the ways that they're using him, and it does get encouraging, especially the last few weeks when he's been producing, but I just want to see more. Like I want to see just more catchable targets. I want to see just more layup targets from him, especially based on the fact that you probably spent a second-round pick on this guy, and the last 2 weeks or 3 weeks, he's been somewhat producing like that, but I do think it opens up the opportunity to sell because we just haven't seen the consistency all year for him and in this offense or the volume. So if I could sell same position for like George Pickens or Devonta Smith off a down week right now, I would. If you can sell for David Montgomery, if you across different positions, a James Cook type package deal, those are the deals that I'm trying to make right now to get rid of Marvin Harrison. Again, it's all based on the context of your team. If you have him on your team and you're listening to this and you just don't have any other wide receivers, of course, don't try and make that deal across different positions. But I'm testing the market on guys like Debo this week and Marvin Harrison where I can.
Yeah, I think I'd rather have George Pickens, but probably would still rather have Marvin Harrison than Devonta Smith just because he's the number one receiver, but Trey McBride might be the number one target. I mean, it's kind of, we're splitting hairs a little bit there, but yeah, I'm a little bit like on the other side of it too, just because you look at the schedule for Arizona, I mean, which is a little bit you can go both ways with this because, yeah, they have the Patriots and the Panthers in week 15 and 16. But if they're smoking those teams because they're kind of making a run towards the playoff is Arizona, are they just going to sit on the ball and run the piss out of it with James Conner and even Trey Benson now getting involved? That's always possible. I will say, there has been some changes for Marvin Harrison's route tree. He's still not getting a lot of layup looks, like you said. I mean, he gets by far the fewest layup looks of any of the rookie wide receivers right now, other than maybe Roma Dunzeg because he's like the third target there or whatever, which whole nother conversation, my God. But doesn't get those layup looks. He's still almost exclusively lining up at X receiver, but they have cut down the overall vertical routes for him. He has been running more dig routes, out routes, things in the intermediate area. Still some lower percentage targets, no question. I would love to see more layups as well, but that's going to lead into some of the volatility. The run heavy nature overall of the Cardinals is going to lead into some volatility. And over the last few games since week 7, he has a 26% target share, 22.8% target share, which is second on the team behind Trey McBride at 26.7%, but he leads the team in air yards. So I think that kind of speaks to some of the volatility we're talking about here with Marvin Harrison. So I don't know. I think he's going to have some big games to end the season, but he could also have plenty of these like 35-yard games that people get annoyed with.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's the consistency at this point, which you can bet on it staying good. Like Kyler Murray's coming off of a great game. The offense has looked nice recently. So for me, it's about testing the market at this point. I have him as my 47th overall player rest of the season. Would be a fourth or probably about a fourth round pick if we redrafted today. I'm probably lower than most people in that regard. Same position trades, like we said, are always weird. Mike Evans coming out of potentially the bye week healthy if he's back. Somebody that I would want to have, especially as you target him getting 0 points on his bye week. Maybe you can get that done. Again, don't sell low on this guy. Sell high, see what you can get tippy top in the market.
Yeah, I like that. If you're going to sell high, and I agree. I think George Pickens, Mike Evans, I'd rather have those guys at the wide receiver position rest of the way. And certainly, like a guy, a David Montgomery type if you need the running back help. But that's going to do it. Those are the moves that people need to make, Sal. Like I said, need to make as the trade deadline approaches.